Hi, Prema here, and this is the October 14th, 2023 solar eclipse update. We are in a time of change. Eclipses are game changers, cosmic triggers, points of purification. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what you need to know about this intense cycle of growth that we're in and that we're shifting to, the unexpected changes you need to be aware of, the transformation that is in store for you, and how to navigate this energy so you're open to the new opportunities and you're willing to surrender what you're being called to surrender. The solar eclipse on October 14th is a time of some things ending and coming into completion, really coming to completion and even fruition, and then an activation of some new things. The solar eclipse in Vedic astrology is in Virgo. It is just shifting into Virgo, and even though the south node of the moon, the mystic, is still in Libra in Vedic astrology, the leader, the sun, is in Virgo. It's a bit of a transitional eclipse, and I'll break this all down for you. Some doors are closing, some doors are opening, and some of them that are closing have needed to close for a long time. This particular eclipse is bringing in a lot of pressure right now, and a solar eclipse shifts our path. And in that shifting of our path, that new trajectory, it opens it up over the next 6 months period of time. But there'll be similar eclipses for a year and a half, for an 18-month cycle. These are the nodes of the moon, the points in the ecliptic of the moon that cause the eclipses. They agitate and they churn two particular constellations across from one another for an 18-month cycle, and then they shift to the next cycle. And so we're kind of in this shift time, finishing up one cycle that it's really important that you get the lesson for, and opening up to the new cycle. Undoubtedly, you're feeling the pressure at some level. You could be feeling anxious, agitated, ready for something to complete, or maybe something's completing that you had no idea was going to complete. Maybe you have a bit of that sense of like, oh, the rug is going to get pulled out, or like, oh, the shoe is going to drop, or something's just going on and you can't quite put your finger on it. A lot of my clients have been feeling this internal pressure, and it's asking you to like do something now urgently, but it's actually not necessarily time for that yet. It's a good time to complete things because of where Mercury is, but be careful of extra added urgency, that inner pressure that in truth you're putting on yourself. It's more a time to complete those things, to open up and stay very present for the unexpected that will arise, and to also be willing to break the patterns that are no longer serving you. Let things fall away. You see, eclipses bring drama and complication at times. They also bring a release, a surrender. Also, the ego looks at that as loss. So it just depends on your perspective, but take the growth perspective. This eclipse will allow you to start something new, and it's going to bring fruition and completion to something. And it's going to be important for you to open up to what that new path is, because it's going to be different than you thought. It is going to be, something unexpected. Even if it's something that maybe you wanted to have shift or open up for you, the way it does, you will not be able to predict. So you want to stay open and you want to stay present. Keep your sea legs on so that you're going with the flow. So the eclipse is when we have the sun, which is the leader in the Sacred Wealth Code system. We have the moon, which is the queen, and we have the earth. And the points in the ecliptics are really what the nodes of the moon are. They're shadow places. And when that shadow comes between the sun and the sun being our soul, and the moon being our consciousness, there's a shadow that's cast. And in a shadow period of time, the light is actually being blocked. So the soul, the consciousness is being blocked. It can be confusing. It's shadow. Think of like the dawn and dusk periods of time. It's a shift of trajectory, a shift of path, and it's a bit foggy. We're not supposed to see clearly during this time because things are shifting in, shifting out. So we want to allow that to happen. And there's a bit of that unnerving quality with it that wants us to, we want things to be predictable. You need to be centered, grounded, and be able to stay flexible during this time. The south node of the moon, Ketu, the mystic, brings up things from the past. It's really asking us to walk a more spiritual path, letting go of things that keep us from walking our divine path, especially in the area of life that it is triggering. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's asking us to be more detached. If we're willing to let go when we're called to let go, and then the new things that we also want have space to arise. The solar eclipse is at 27 degrees of Virgo. In Vedic astrology, I'm talking here, the sidereal zodiac. And Ketu, the mystic, is just in the 0 degrees of Libra still. So it's a bit of a transitional eclipse. Rahu, the north node of the moon, the magician, that tends to complicate things, but also brings on a lot of opportunities. That's where the lunar eclipse will be in Aries on the 28th, and it's in Gandanta. It's in the 0 degrees. So there's, this is, again, it's kind of hard to pinpoint things when the energy is like that. It is in the lunar mansion, the nakshatra of Chitra, and this is a wonderful lunar mansion. It's also known as the Star of Opportunity. It is said to illuminate the divine spirit within, brings on new beginnings or a clearing so that you have space. So that's kind of a double energy, not just with the solar eclipse, but also with the nakshatra. Just think, a time of new beginnings. We say we want things to change, but again, we like things to be predictable. So you have to be grounded in your spiritual center. You need to be grounded in your heart and be really honest with yourself during this time. It is in the constellation of Virgo, the 6th house of the natural 6th house of the zodiac, although Virgo means something specific for you. I am talking about the general forecast, so this is the flavor of it. But depending on where Virgo falls in your chart, it may have another whole other layer to it. Now, with Virgo, let's remember, Virgo is health, it's healing, it's purification. It's our sort of natural routines of life. It's a wealth house, it's work, it's the effort we put in. It's also a place of service. It's a place that we have to put effort in and we have to work with things. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury happens to be there now, exalted, although it is very close to the sun in this eclipse, which is the communicator in the Sacred Wealth Code system. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is our mind, our intellect, our ability to evaluate things. And so during the eclipse, we may not have the best ability to evaluate. So we have to, first of all, be able to trust ourselves. And it's good to defer really important decisions that you can make later till after the eclipse. If you're wondering how all this energy is hitting you personally, I invite you to book an eclipse reading with me. The link is in the description, in the comments, wherever you're seeing this, where I'm going to talk about the last eclipse pattern and the lesson there for you, the one we're transitioning out of, but we haven't fully moved out of yet, the one we're moving into, and the other important transits like some of the big retrogrades, like Jupiter retrograde that we have going on. Love to get in with you, have a deep 1-hour session, and really dig into your soul blueprint and help you to understand how all this energy is affecting you. Link is down below. So this is a Ring of Fire annular eclipse. The Ring of Fire eclipse is not a total eclipse. It's where you'll still see a ring of fire around the shadow that the eclipse will bring. Now, it is very unique in the fact that it is going to be seen in the Americas, in North and South America. And it will actually begin in Oregon at about 9:15 Pacific Daylight Time, and then it ends in Texas at about 12:03 Central Time. And for specific times of just exactly when it's going to be right at its full eclipse, just Google that and look that up for yourself. It's also, so it's visible in the United States and Oregon, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona is where it's going to be fully visible. It's also going to be Mexico, Central America, passing over Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama. And I do want to say, in the Vedic tradition, it is not auspicious to go out and look at an eclipse. And I know it's a phenomenon and many people will do that, and that's up to you and no judgment there. But the reason why is it's a shadow period of time. It's a time where the light of consciousness and soul has been dimmed and we're being asked to go inward. It's a beautiful time for deep inner spiritual opening. So I encourage you to do that. Now, we will have another eclipse, in a solar eclipse, in the spring of 2024 in the United States as well. So what's interesting about where an eclipse happens, it is relevant for all of us. And especially, I do want to say, if you have planets around 27 degrees, 25, 26, 27, 28 of Virgo, especially if you have a sun, moon, Mercury, if you have any planets there, you'll be more affected. If you're running the dasha of Rahu, of Ketu, the sun, the moon, you will be more affected. It'll be more intense and more poignant for you, although it'll affect all of us. But where the shadow is cast on the earth, those areas on a socio-economical, those areas are greatly affected. The last eclipse we had was 2017 solar eclipse in the United States, and there's been a lot of upheaval and unrest that's happened since then. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that they're bad. It's just that they're triggers for growth. So they're going to shake things up and put pressure on things and shake things around so that we grow and we change. And then that it's up to us whether we do that or not. Otherwise things would stay. I mean, we have transits, but things would stay more stagnant. These are the growth triggers of the soul, and not just us personally, but all for the collective and for the planet as well. So this is a transitional eclipse. The lesson we're coming out of is the lesson of Aries and Libra. Our Aries are personal freedom, independence, versus our identities, versus relationships, our compromises we make or don't make, our connections, and where we give our power away. Those are the lessons we're finishing up, and then we're transitioning. So just a soul wisdom question for you to contemplate: what is the lesson around relationships that you've been learning over the last year and a half? Important for you to be aware of that and make the shift, if you haven't already, to heal that situation. And we've done a couple of healing circles with a relationship emphasis over the summer because of the Venus retrograde and because of these eclipses that has happened. So if you need help with that, of course, you can book a healing session with me, and the link is down below, or come to our next full moon healing circle on the lunar eclipse. And again, all links you'll find down below. So this can bring closure to something that started back in April of 2022, because that's when the eclipse pattern went into Aries and Libra. Think back for a moment. What was going on for you then, and what has been going on for you as far as your independence, personal freedom, relationships. And then on a greater cycle, the last time the eclipse pattern was in the Virgo-Pisces axis, where it's shifting to, hasn't fully shifted. In fact, the nodes of the moon in Vedic astrology, and I follow the true placement of the node, will not actually move. That's Rahu and Ketu will not actually move to Virgo and to Pisces until November 30th. So that shift, so we're like in this transitional time here. But if you go back to 18 years, 2004, 2005, this is where these themes were playing out last time around Virgo and Pisces. So just when we reflect on history, we can, on our own history, themes tend to repeat, and hopefully we're taking them to the next level, like we're going around a spiral and we're actually ascending as we learn and grow and open up and remember who we are, who we've always been. And you uniquely as a soul, as a being, as a multidimensional being, who you are. The Virgo axis, the Virgo-Pisces axis, Virgo, very earthy and where we want to fix things. As I mentioned, healing service. This is our routines and rhythms. And purification is across the zodiac from Pisces, which is very spiritual. It's about transcendence. It's where we, the dissolution of this world, where we come back to the one before we shift and we are rebirthed in Aries again in the natural zodiac. And in Virgo, we are being called to like embody that spirituality. How can we actually make space and align so that that essence of who we are can live within us and we're a true expression of it? But we have to be embodied to do that. So that's the axis we're working with. I will create some updates for the actual shift and go deeper into the Virgo Pisces shift for Rahu and Ketu. So you can look forward to that video. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, you may want to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. So we also have a couple of aspects that are greatly affecting this eclipse pattern. We have some volatility from Mars, and also Mercury is very close to this. I will talk about that in just a moment. I really want us to understand the nakshatra first. The nakshatra that this eclipse pattern is happening in, that this particular solar eclipse is happening in, is the nakshatra of Chitra. And this is, as I said, the star of opportunity, and it's ruled by Devastar or Vishwakarma. You can call it either one. The celestial architect, the master of Maya and magic, and has the ability to bring things into fruition. It is able to illuminate that divine spirit within. There's a great reverence for beauty here, and beauty is the divine. I mean, nature, beauty, it is the divine. It is very mystical. It is creative. It brings out our creative, our artistic abilities. The symbol is a gem or a pearl. And in all the work that I do, whether it's the healing circles or reading or any of my programs or even teaching business, we take the gem of the mind and we drop it into the deep wisdom of the heart. And there we bring the mind, heart, bring this mind and the soul together. And this nakshatra has a great ability to help us to connect with that wisdom and that light within. And the solar eclipse is pushing us inward to actually look within. And so I encourage you to take time and do that. I will give you, in the end of this video, coming really soon here, the remedies for this eclipse. So this chitra energy can help us really shift our image. It can help us to, gain power over our good karma, our good right action. It represents truth and justice and brings in new beginnings, or again, a clearing to where you need to clear space so that you can have a new beginning. It's also said that it's incredibly mystical and there's a lot of spiritual depth. We don't get the benefit of that spiritual depth if we don't go to the bottom of the well, which means we do have to close our eyes. We do have to tune this world out so that we can look deeply within. And when we do that and we focus within, insights, revelations, answers, truths are revealed to us, but we have to turn down the distraction of the outer world for that. The mystic, the south node of the moon, is all about detachment and will put pressure on us, and is currently, to help us to let go of what we're overly attached to that's keeping us too entangled in this world. Yes, we have to walk with a foot in both worlds, but sometimes we're too entangled in the world. And there's a falling out, or there's a letting go and a willing release. Surrender is really the word you want to live by here. Surrender is not giving up, it's giving yourself up to the divine, or giving something up to the divine and trusting. It's not a sign of weakness, it's great strength to be able to offer to the power that we know is greater than the small us. It's the greater us. So this is a shift at a soul level. It can be used for a deep spiritual opening and be open to the change that you're being presented with. It can seem very subtle, and sometimes the subtlest of changes, just like if you drop a pebble in the water, subtly, that's going to ripple for a long time. A big splash might get more of your attention now, but it'll settle out quicker. It may be a subtle change, or it may be a huge change. You want to pay attention. The ego looks at things that you're letting go of as loss. And that's the human part of us, and that's fine. But let's be real about what that is. The soul looks at it as transcendence. This is no longer useful. I need to release this, and so that I can open up to something greater. It's not time to hang on to your frustration, your ego, your being right, and all the things that are causing you pain. If it's causing you a lot of pain, where can you let go? Some soul wisdom questions we can really use. And you can always pause this video to contemplate these questions, or come back to this part of the video and journal about this. Really tune in. Is, what am I holding on to that it's time to release? What am I too attached to that it's time to just let go of and create space for something new? What patterns have I been struggling with that it's time for me to break? That it's time for me to step out of? A pattern keeps repeating itself over and over again. And we have patterns that may serve us, but we have patterns that don't. What patterns are you ready to let go of in order to be more purely you? In order to walk closer with the divine. It's a potent time for prayer, for meditation, for contemplation. Instead of getting caught in the confusion and the drama happening around in the world and with other people. Remember, without the light, we can't see everything. And also without the outer light, we can see more inwardly if we take the time for it. But without the outer light, we can't see all of our choices, so we have to rely on the inner light for that. So be careful of your decisions during this time, and also trust that if there are decisions or choices that you must make in the moment because unexpected things happen during eclipse time, that you can trust yourself to make that choice. And you know you can if you are present enough to do that, and you're not moving out of reaction, you're coming more out of response, you're taking a moment to tune in, and you're not caught in a bunch of drama. Mars, our great honorable warrior in the Sacred Wealth Code system, is pretty fired up and has been fired up. And we are seeing that displayed in the world because Mars will fight. And there's an honorable fight to fight, and then there's the shadow side of fighting. It's a good time to be praying for peace. But this volatile energy is going to continue. It's going to continue for a while. Mars is lining up with K2 right now, the mystic. And when you put Mars, the honorable warrior, with the mystic, K2, this is a very hot, fiery combination. So very close to the eclipse we have here. So Mars is very volatile, and it's also traveling pretty close to the sun, and it's pretty combust, and it will be through October as we into the first week of November. So keep your cool. Stay grounded. The remedies for Mars are exercise, sweat, burn off that extra energy, ground. How do you ground? You put your feet on the earth. You get in your body. You do yoga, you run, you lift weights, you do whatever you need to get in your body. Water is very grounding as well and helps to put out the fire when we have too much fire. You are someone who's going to take a breath and respond instead of react. When you see a fire, try not to jump in it. Things are combustible right now. Be aware of that. Not a great time to be in really crowded places on the eclipses. Not a time to be potentially in contentious situations. If you, sometimes we don't know, right? Bring peace with you. You have a choice. Mercury is exalted during this time in Virgo, and it's pretty close to the eclipses. It's got a few degrees. So, and it's close to the sun as well, but it is exalted, which really does help it. We have to watch our minds because our minds can be pretty heated up during this time. And the biggest thing I'm seeing with everyone right now is this internal pressure. This is a great time, as I said in my October update, and you can, the link will be down below for that as well, to finish up the details of things. Mercury is very fired up for that right now. If you need to make a decision about something and you don't have the breadth of time or space, just stay present and you're likely just to be fine, okay? But watch that internal pressure and where are you pushing yourself to make choices and decisions that you don't really need to make right now, or to do more than you really need to do right now. So be really present, because that energy to sort of fix things or to get onto one side or the other side of the polarity of things that are going on right now, that's not really useful, and it's going to cause you stress, and it's not useful for the world. So how can you be of service? How can you contribute, but also maintain your center and your own energy? So we need to be very mindful during this time. So mindfulness practices are incredibly, incredibly useful. Some doors are opening and some are closing. It's okay. So some of the remedies, and I've mentioned some already, but let me go over them for you, is to keep your schedule light so that when the unexpected things come up, that you have the bandwidth, the presence to deal with them. Drink lots of water. It's always cleansing and grounding and helps keep the volatility down. Prepare for the unexpected. How do you be prepared for the unexpected? You are present. You haven't overscheduled yourself. You are willing to go with the flow and willing to be detached to some of the things that maybe you're a little too attached to. Spend time in meditation, more time than usual. And if you don't have a meditation practice, it's time. It's so, so important to tune in. Stay close to home if you have the opportunity to around the eclipses. And if you don't, then trust whatever goes on for you. You are on a big adventure and you are going to bring the light with you to that adventure. Connect with those you love. Check in with people. Make sure everybody's doing okay. And meditation, journaling, really, tune in and contemplate and let that stream of thought, journal on the questions that I gave you, but also what's coming up for you. Process that. Chant. It's such a wonderful, wonderful practice. It helps our minds. It helps our hearts. Chant. We always chant in the full moon healing circles. You can do any of the chants you know. Om Namah Shivaya. There's many chants, but also Hanuman Chalisa is wonderful, wonderful during this time. Water of any sorts, bathing before and after the eclipse is said to be in a traditional way, very, very beneficial. If you want support during this time, book an eclipse reading with me. If you've made it to this end of this video, please leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing, or just even send me a heart. Let me know that you're here, and let me know what's come up for you or what you're transitioning with during this time. I'm also, again, holding the Full Moon Healing Circle. The link is down below. That'll be on the lunar eclipse, and we will be doing a deep clearing with all this incredible energy that's coming up. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being part of the community, and I appreciate you sharing, subscribing, and liking this, and sharing any other topics with me in the comments that you would love for me to cover. All right, so much love to you.